Hi, it's me again, and like I said, I've been wearing way too much red lipstick so that I look like Ronald McDonald. Okay, thanks. Okay, so the next book I read, I got from the library. I got 4 books from the library. First one was an Agatha Christie book that was absolutely horrible. I have never ever expected to pick up an Agatha Christie book and be disappointed, but it was a 1-star book. And it was the first 1-star book I've read of the year, and it was quite disappointing. So I immediately picked up this one, If We Were Villains, which was recommended to me by my sister, who had read it a couple months ago, and then I saw it at the library, and she said it was a quick read, and that was what I was in the mood for. And they didn't have The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, which was the other book I was planning on reading. So we got this one. I recommended The Secret History to her, and then she recommended this to me because she read it after she read The Secret History. The Secret History by Donna Tartt, in case that wasn't obvious. I really like The Secret History, which is I think why she recommended this to me, and it's also why I recommended it to other people. I know that liking The Secret History is a controversial idea. Not everybody likes that book. It's quite well known, quite famous, but not everybody likes it. So I picked this one up because she said she liked it. I loved this book so much. This was one of those books that really stuck with me when I finished it. I think I read it all in a day, and it's not like it's not like a chunker. It was like 400 pages maybe, 350, but it wasn't the fastest moving story, especially in the beginning. And I had a hard time liking it for a good part of the book, and I'll get into why. And so I was surprised that I read it in a day, other than just because I was miserable and am miserable waiting for agents to tell me that they want to read my book. So I've been trying to distract myself with books, and this book was super, super good. I sounded so unintelligent there. It was a fantastic book. If you like theater, like Shakespeare, or anything in that genre, this is a great book for you. I think a big reason why my sister liked this, and she liked it more than The Secret History, and so did I, is because it's about actors as opposed to Greek students. So let's just get into one of the first negatives, and then we'll get into what these books are about. This book is a lot like The Secret History. I don't think this book would exist if The Secret History did not exist. They're incredibly similar, but I liked this better, and I am super hesitant to say I like a book that is clearly inspired by another book, heavily inspired by another book more than the original, but I did with this one. So because they are so similar, I am going to describe both of them, because if you don't know what The Secret History is about, it's hard to gauge if you will also like this one if you have no idea of what the other one's about. So The Secret History is a pretty well-known whodunit about a group of college students who are studying Greek classics who kill one of their classmates. That's not a spoiler. Literally in on the first page of The Secret History, that the narrator killed someone. And I'm fairly certain he tells you who on the first page, but don't quote me on that. And then the book is a whodunit. The first half is leading up to everything that happened before the murder, and you see why they did it, and the second half is them dealing with the aftermath. And this book is very similar. Both of them take place in a small remote elite college that focuses on the arts in some way. So that one's a small group of 5 or The Secret History is a small group of 5 or 6 Greek students, and this is a small group of 6 Shakespearean theater students. And again, you start this book and the main character is getting out of jail after being convicted for murder. So it's not a spoiler that somebody is going to get murdered in this book, and the main character goes to jail for it, but he's talking to the detective who put him in jail, basically, and the detective makes it clear, insinuates he doesn't believe that the main character killed the person who died. But you don't know who dies, which is different from The Secret History. It has a very similar premise in the sense that it's more of a why done it, like why did this person go to jail for killing someone and why did they kill them kind of thing. But it is much better than The Secret History in a lot of ways. First of all, I think the characters, like the 5 characters who survive, I would, you know what I mean, like there's 6 characters in the beginning, one of them dies. The other 5 are all very likable. The person who dies is unlikable, kind of the point. But the other 5 are incredibly likable characters in my opinion. I didn't like all of them when the book started, like at the beginning. Oh, is there 7 of them? Oh my god, there's 7. But I can't really say anything more because I don't want to give away who lives and who dies. Because although I felt like it was pretty, I guessed who it was quite early on, the first chapter, there is some suspense because there are 2 characters that might die. And it's kind of guessing which one of them is going to die. I was right about my guess, and because it's quite like The Secret History, that's how I guessed. Just hit my tripod. But the characters that survive and that you're trying to guess which of them killed the other person are all so likable. And the thing about The Secret History is that none of those characters are supposed to be likable. Like Richard and all of them and whatever their names are, Charles and Camilla and all of them, I don't remember all the characters' names in The Secret History, are not likable. Especially not Richard, the main character. But in this, Oliver, who you know lives, because he's the one getting out of jail for murder. So that's not a spoiler. Oliver, the main character, is so likable in my opinion. Oh my god, I loved Oliver and I cried for him at the end. Oh my god, he's just... I love Oliver so much. So in that way, like, this is so much, if you don't like The Secret History because you did not like the characters, you will like this book because it deals with a lot of the same issues of morality and that sort of thing, but with likable characters, and you understand what might motivate such good people to murder when you read this book. It's like, the characters, I'm not gonna lie, do sometimes come across as a little bit pretentious because they're Shakespearean actors, but not in the insufferable way that the Greek students in The Secret History, and I'm going to compare this book to Secret History until I die because they're so similar, but not in the same way that the Greek students are like insufferable in The Secret History. So like, make of that what you will. They're Shakespearean actors and sometimes they quote Shakespeare. Sometimes, I mean quite a lot, but like, they're still likable, I promise. Like, I hated the characters in The Secret History, I really did, and I like these characters, and I think they're all incredibly likable. I also thought that this second half was so much more intriguing because you didn't go into the book knowing who commit the murder like you do in the beginning of The Secret History. Like, you know it was a group of people in The Secret History, but in this one, like, it's a mystery. Like, the second half is a mystery of which one of the remaining 6 killed them. You know it's not Oliver. It's a mystery. They leave it open for you, like, for a long time to figure out. You know, they all are a little bit suspicious. You know, they're all a little bit suspicious. They all have a reason to have killed him. And so it is like, who did it? Again, I guessed who did it, but it's not entirely cut and dry, and I didn't know all of the details until they were revealed, and I just thought it was still super interesting. And like, once you get to the second half, like, this book is, I was unable to put it down. It was so good, so riveting, so engaging. The characters were, like, the way they dealt with the death afterwards was so realistic and fascinating and like engaging. Oh my god, once you get to the second half of this book after the murder, this book flies by, and it's just, it went from like a 4-star book, maybe even 3.5, to immediately 5 stars in the second half, because it changed so much from one. It changed a lot of the formula of Secret History, and so it didn't feel like a bad, like, it didn't feel like just a copy of the Secret History once you get to the second half and the ending. And it's just so well handled, and the characters are so, they feel very real, very visceral. My last positive is that it goes along with the characters. The characters, there is so much better LGBT rep in this book than in Secret History. I think that his Secret History kind of dealt with LGBT characters in an way. Like, it wasn't the worst I've seen, but certainly wasn't the best either. But this has better representation. It deals with it better. I just very much like the way this author approached LGBT representation much better than Donna Tartt. I love Donna Tartt, don't get me wrong. And I don't think that her book has homophobic problems in it at all. I just think Emil Rio did a better job. It's kind of hard to explain until you've read the book without spoiling it for you. I just liked the LGBT rep in this book better. And when you get to the end, you will understand why. Speaking of, my only negative for this book, I literally sat down and wrote a list of positives and negatives, and a possible negative is that it's a lot like The Secret History. I think the second half is different enough that it's more of a neutral, but that is something that a lot of people would say they don't like because it is so heavily inspired by, in my opinion, I didn't even find any interviews about this. In my opinion, it's kind of obvious and undeniable that this book is inspired by The Secret History, and that could be a negative. But the other negative, the one that I really hemmed and hawed over what star rating to give this book because of the ending. It's not, I was so, literally until the last page, perhaps even the last sentence, I loved the ending. I thought the epilogue was fantastic. I cried more than once at the ending of this book. It was incredibly emotional, and Oliver is a fantastic character. And then you get to maybe the last sentence. Yeah, you get to the last sentence of this, and you get to the last 5 words, and I almost threw the book across the room. The last 5 words of this book almost ruined the entire thing for me, and I almost made it a 4 stars, 3.5 for the last sentence. I hate it so much. It's an open-ended ending, which I can be okay with. I don't like it in this book because this was such a philosophical and emotional book that I really thought if they had left out the last page or so, and when you read the book you'll understand what I'm talking about, what chunk I do not care for at the very end. I feel like this would have been much more emotionally powerful for me, but as it is, it's completely open-ended, which I do not care for. I have no idea if it's because the author for some reason wants to write a sequel. I would sure hope not. It sure doesn't need one, and I sure would not like one. But it's completely open, and for reasons I cannot fathom as to why they would do that at all, because I feel like they could have either changed the ending to something better that revolves around what happens in the last page to still make what I think they're insinuating happen without leaving it stupidly open-ended, or they could have taken that entirely and given us a really, really well done, perfectly bittersweet ending for a book that felt bittersweet the whole way through. And I felt like it would have been totally a better choice at the end than what they gave us, which was open-ended, and just, it left kind of a weird taste in my mouth. But my sister loved the ending. She didn't mind this open-ended total shift at the end that I didn't care for. She liked it a lot, actually. That is probably more of a preference thing, is that I just thought it was a weird tonal shift, and I don't usually love it's so what is gonna happen, what is that, what does it mean, what are you trying to insinuate exactly, and just tell me what happens after that. It's just, it drives you insane because you know that certain events are going to happen and you just want to know what the outcome of those events were going to be. But other people are going to love that because it's a very literary kind of thing to do, and it's something that a lot of people are going to enjoy. So if you like open-ended endings and that bittersweet literary open-ended endings, you won't care. I just personally was so close. I still gave this book 5 stars, so that just tells you, as passionately as I hate the ending of the book, this book is so good. I gave it 5 stars. So if you at all like murder mystery / whodunits that are fast with good LGBT rep, with good themes and morals and philosophies and things to say, and is, you know, vaguely literary, this book is all of those things. If you liked The Secret History, or if you liked the idea of it and hated the characters, you'll like this book. It appeals to people who both like and didn't like The Secret History, depending on why they didn't like it. And since I feel like a lot of people didn't like it because of the characters, here you are, a better version. Basically, this book stuck with me for days and days and days. So I guess Emma Ria accomplished what she wanted to do by leaving it open-ended. Read this book. Okay, bye.